So in this one I want to talk about teaching and learning. It's been something that I've thought about and contemplated for a long time. It's been something that's been very important to me because I've always had a role as a teacher and someone that's shared information and collected information and tried to share it with people in an understandable way. And at the same time, I've also loved being a student in lots of different ways, whether it's a student of veganism or activism, or as I was learning Japanese, or as I was learning video editing, as I was learning gardening and the ability to grow fresh food and organic farming gardening methods, and as I was learning piano and music and all the different skills and things that I've loved learning and studying, I realised that one of the reasons why I can absorb so much information when I'm doing things is that rather than learning for myself, I learn so that I can share, I learn so that I can teach. Because on some level there's a part of me that knows that when I'm researching something, say about veganism or about something organic related, it's something that I know I can share with someone, and there's this pure, sweet intention of love that flows through that learning experience. And because I know, and I do always share the things that are valuable with people, to increase their power and obviously bring more health and abundance and joy to people's lives, I find my ability to absorb becomes free of resistance, rather than the idea of, I can't do this, I'm not good enough to learn this thing, or this is too difficult, or I'll never get good at this, and all the voice of all these excuses that people have. There's almost a part of me, and there's always been a part of me, that says none of that fear stuff matters, because this is what the world needs, this is what people need to hear. And so as I allow it to come into me, I allow it to sort of bubble up, and then it will flow out of me. It's like being an appropriate vessel, a big jug, and getting my jug clean and ready so that I can fill it with all the information. And then just at that point where it overflows, I can go, here you go everyone, I fill everyone's jugs up and everyone's cups, and everyone else's jugs then become full, and then they can jug their information and their joy and passion into, other beings who are touched by the same kind of thoughts and ideas. Yeah, if you want to learn a new skill, I think it's finding something that you really, really love and you really enjoy, and it's connecting with that idea of being able to share it with people. So if you're learning something music related, it's enjoying being able to be imperfect with your playing maybe, but at the same time being so full of sweetness and of excitement and adventure. And I found a lot of people who love travelling, if they're suddenly in a situation where they can't travel, whether it's financially or a particular sort of country related sort of border issue or a visa issue. I had a period where I couldn't travel for a while, and I could have seen it as a big obstacle, and for a point I did resent the inability to travel to the places I wanted to go to and to travel around. But at the same time, it gave me an opportunity to go within and say, I want that adventure and that passion and that the idea of new things and new people and new experiences. And it was going within and saying, how can I make that experience happen? How can I experience the same kind of feelings and the same kind of energy from that I would have, say, in Japan or Korea, and bringing it into my daily life and my daily experience wherever I am. So if I always bring the adventure with me, I don't need to go out and seek something externally. So I went within and I said, actually, what does it mean to have an adventure? You can have an adventure with your eyes closed, having a sort of a daydream meditation, or you could have an adventure with music. You can sit and improvise for 10 minutes, and you can go on a really deep emotional journey. You can have a conversation with a stranger. You can bump into someone on the street and say, hello, I just have a question to ask. What makes you really, really happy? And I guarantee, you have to sort of maybe time it a little bit right, but you say that to someone, if the moment's there, you'll have a really good chat. It would just be interesting. And if you have the opportunity to say something like that, it blows someone's mind, and it might result in the world being changed for the better, where people take the defenses down and realize that we're all sort of having the same experience, and we're all looking for that sort of sweet kind of fulfillment. Yeah, if you want to learn certain skills, it doesn't matter what the skill is, you'll be able to enjoy the things that you want. So if it's adventure, or if it's health, you can find a way of making those skills and the things you're learning a part of that journey. So for me, it was as I go into music, it didn't have to be piano, which was my lifelong passion. I decided to learn guitar for a little bit, and that was really fun. And it was just going back to being a beginner. And as I allowed myself to be a beginner, I realised that it wasn't really about playing well. It was about just the emotions and the fun I could have with it. And because I'd played and practiced so much at the musical instrument, the piano, so much, there was this expectation on myself to always be able to play really well. And so when I travelled, I wasn't able to play the pieces that I'd memorised when I was younger, all the sort of Beethoven and Mozart pieces. And as I forgot them, and as I became more sort of rusty in the sort of piano skills and the ability to sort of show off, I went within and found this place where I said, actually, piano's just playing. It's just like dancing. It's just like rambling. And when you allow yourself to just ramble when you're playing with a musical instrument, you can be a complete beginner, and children do this all the time, where you just take that thing and the rhythm just comes and the notes come. And as I was learning kalimba, which is a little finger piano-y thing, little finger instrument, I think it was originally from Africa. I'd like to share some of my kalimba music at some point. But as I was learning that, it was super simple, sort of limited notes and limited kind of chord progressions and things that were possible compared to the piano. But it was almost the limitation and the simplicity of it that allowed me more freedom. And when you've got so much possibility, you often end up just procrastinating and not enjoying the most of something. So there's always this feeling of, if I play piano, if I'm not doing it as well as I know I can do, if I'm not playing to my highest possible level, then sort of what's the point? But with something like guitar, it was like, if my standard is so low, I can't fail. I just jam around and see what happens. And it was probably more fun and more beautiful, and you start singing along, and especially you're sharing it with people. And if I ever go to, say, an event and someone has a guitar, I just sort of play on it, and it's like being a child, where you just know a few chords and you're just playing, and it's that playful sort of innocence where there's no need for you to play anything to impress anyone. You're just playing to yourself, and you're just playing for the fun of it. So I recommend those who like learning, those who like sort of expanding, not to take the whole thing so seriously. Even if you're learning something that is serious to you, and even if it is important to you, it's finding a way to make every part of it really fun. So when I used to play piano, there was always the scales, the sort of the drills and things you do, and there's almost a feeling of, I have to do this sort of obligation feeling, and I was always kind of quite good at those kinds of things, and I was quite good at being disciplined. But if you were to, say, make a game out of saying, how quickly can I do this, and can I do it next time, and can I do it a little bit quicker next time, and can I sing while doing it, or can I do it blindfolded, and you start adding this playfulness, this sort of fun element to it, then rather than it being this sort of disciplined thing where I have to learn my scales and it's for my examination, it just becomes like you're equally with sports. It's like you're practicing your sprints. You're going, boom, can I get quicker, and can I play more fun? Can I play in a more fun way or a more expressive way? And I mean, the scales don't need you to put emotion in it. and it's not really required for you to turn it into an artistic experience, especially for an exam. It's more of a sort of finger. It's like developing the muscles in your fingers and showing that sort of dexterity. Similarly to sort of practicing free throws or some kind of like practicing a skill in a sport, like a particular area that helps with the overall thing. So even though it isn't necessarily an expressive emotional experience, nothing's stopping you from doing that. So it's like just dissolving all the limitations and going straight into saying, well, if I'm learning something and it's boring, which is obviously a lot of the school system is based on the idea of you have to do this and it's good for you and you should do this, rather than the joy of learning. Once you leave the kind of institutions or the universities that make you do a certain curriculum based on a certain time frame, and you step into that teach yourself place, which is one of my lifelong passions, to say, actually, I mean, I learned Japanese to a high fluent level, and I never took any. I think I took one. I went to one little kind of hangout class thing in London, just because a friend who I knew was leading it. She was like, "Come along, it'll be good," and the whole thing was fun. But yeah, I only did that, and that was for like half an hour. It was mostly just a sort of promotion for this lady who was trying to teach Japanese, who she'd just moved to London, and there was so I've not really ever needed to do the sort of learning from other people thing. Whereas at the same time, it's just integrating all the different things and then adding your own flavour to it, and establishing your own way of sort of teaching yourself, and then obviously reflecting and trying to add more fun and just being consistent with something. So if you're feeling like, oh, I have to, and oh, this is boring and I should do this, it's like, if you think you should do something, you should stop. You should stop if you should do it, because one of the main things that will get anyone to do anything is if the motivation and the joy behind it is high enough. Then as a teacher teaching a student, once that person develops the ability to passionately pursue the thing themselves, they only need a vague amount of guidance, and that guidance is it's more of a case of you can get that guidance from any place, just a very vague amount of feedback. But when the student's motivated, they will teach themselves and they will practice themselves, and they don't need your approval. They don't need anyone to clap at them, because you just go for it. And that was always with me learning about vegan things. It was there was no need for anything external. There was no need for anyone to teach me anything, and you'd have to stop me from researching vegan facts and vegan stats and environmental thingamajiggies and all that. You have to take me away from the computer or from the books that I was reading, and I was just obsessed with it, and I loved it. And if someone say isn't vegan and they want to learn about that sort of thing, you take them to the place where they're passionate enough about a particular thing, whether it be sort of connecting with animals. And if you love animals deeply enough, you're going to say, well, this just aligns, and I'm going to make this choice happen. I'm going to make this lifestyle happen because I have a sufficient level of motivation in this particular area to just push me through all of the resistance and the obstacles that, of changing a habit and doing different things. So there's one of the bits in this book, Course in Miracles, that I read, and it goes along the lines of what I've just said, so I'm going to read the direct thing because it's quite helpful. It goes, all good teachers realise that only fundamental change will last, but they do not begin at that level. Strengthening motivation for change is their first and foremost goal. It is also their last and final one. Increasing motivation for change in the learner is all that a teacher need do to guarantee change. Change in motivation is a change of mind, and this will inevitably produce fundamental change because the mind is fundamental. There you go, it's good. And the same passage that comes from has this idea of to have, give all to all. So if you want to have something, if you want to keep something, share it with everyone you can, and extend it out. And if you have something that you value and you treasure and you want to keep it, you keep it by giving it away. And that opposes seemingly all the laws of the physical material world. So theoretically, you can try and give, you can give an object to like a present or something to someone. If you have a snack bar and you give your snack bar to someone else, you no longer have a snack bar and they have a snack bar and you're out of snack bars. But with thoughts, with non-physical things, with ideas, the rule of it is the opposite, but people apply the same kind of materialistic mindset in thinking that they need to keep their ideas and, what do you call it? Plagiarism stuff, the idea of you're stealing my ideas and sharing them. But if you have an idea and a core principle or belief, the idea of veganism, it's like copyright veganism information isn't really a thing. It's like, oh, you're telling people about the egg industry and you're using the same kind of words as I used. Well, that's horrible. That's my copyrighted information. It's like, actually, if you find a good way of expressing something, for me, if I have a particular good way of expressing something, I want the whole world to take that on. If they want to use the exact same words and express the same thing. Because with the thoughts and the ideas, every time you give it away to someone else, you've deposited it in them, and you go from having one load of it in you to one load of it in them as well. So you go from like 100% in you to 200% in them. So if 1,000 people know about your thing, you've got, say, like 1,000% increase in the power of that idea that's running through those people, and they're using it and they're sharing it, and you're expanding things. So if you want to be able to hold the truth and have that truth of what I did say with the knowing the information about the dairy industry and the egg industry, the mothers, the dairy cows who, the mothers, they're ripped away from the babies, and the babies are taken and sort of killed and eaten for veal. That kind of information, I didn't know about it, and then now I do know about it. Every opportunity I have, just like right now, I want to share it with people, and then if you didn't know that and you do know it, then that becomes a piece of information that you integrate into your life. And then if hundreds of people keep doing that, it means that the information spreads and more people have that. And even if they don't necessarily agree with it, it's like a seed that's growing within them. And if you can plant those seeds within the minds and the hearts of people, when you're getting to the information surrounding the kind of the truth, that's been hidden from people, and if you're getting to the information that the meat industries and dairy industries and egg industries and the propaganda machine doesn't want people to know, the kind of empowering stuff that isn't beneficial to profit, when you share that, it gives people this empowerment and this strength. And then we start to experience a world where there's more sovereignty and more freedom of choice, where people can live by the way that they want to live rather than by the way that they've been trained to live and by the way they've been taught to live. So if people want to be compassionate and be good people, they've been taught, well, if you recycle, you'll be a good person, or if you buy this expensive gadget, you'll be a good person, everyone will respect you. But really, if you want to feel that respect for yourself, buying an object isn't necessarily going to do it, but sharing and extending that those messages of love and compassion with people, with your fellow brothers and sisters, and speaking up on behalf of beings who don't have the voice to be able to share it, with the human people, then you can start to integrate who you really are into the world, and just extending the things you believe in. So another part of this book I've been reading is to have peace, teach peace, to learn it. So rather than saying I want peace, you say, how can I demonstrate peace to everyone? How can I share the peace? How can I teach people, say, about the peace in a way that will bring them that feeling of relief, because as more peacing, as there's more of an increase to the peace in the world, then there's less conflict and there's less struggle and fear, and there's less obstacles, and there's a general higher experience of people living up to their potential and living and sharing their creativity and their joy. And when people are free, they invent and they pioneer new ways of being that really change the world. And if you think about it in terms of the recent surge of new vegans, has led to a lot of new vegan businesses and people bringing about products and services that didn't exist, say, 10, 20 years ago. And now, because they exist, veganism as a general movement has become much stronger and much easier and more convenient and more widely known and accessible to people. And on top of that, obviously, more healthy and sustainable and ethical options are now available to the world in a bigger way. And so what might have been impractical and impossible within the limits of people's lives and the way that they've kind of structured their lives and their responsibilities, suddenly things become more accessible and more it's easier to make the choice for love, and it's easier to make the choice to be healthy and to have more peace and to share more peace. And so as more people experience peace, the more people are going to want to share the peace in their own way. And then we have a more peaceful world. And when people are in a state of peace rather than a state of, quick, I got to do this, a fight or flight kind of experience of, or the fight, flight, freeze kind of place of panicking and not knowing what to do and making very quick, irrational decisions based on the short term. Because when the kind of ego place gets triggered, it takes this short-term survival kind of mindset, and you go into this mode where you're thinking from a primitive body place, how can I keep this body alive for a day? And the answers that come from those kinds of questions end up being very stupid, and you end up regretting them in the long term, and they're not sound decisions for people in the long term of their lives. So you want to get into a space of, if people are peaceful, they'll make good decisions, and they'll think, because going vegan in the short term doesn't seem to make sense to that place, to the, oh no, I'm freaking out, quickly got to pay the bills tomorrow and got to get to work in 3 minutes, and and oh look, I watched a television screen and they're telling me it's the end of the world for some reason, monsters are going to come and eat me and everything's scary. And if you're in that space, the idea of going vegan is the least of your worries, right? But once you've got the fundamentals of life together, and once you've got this feeling of security within yourself, not necessarily the external security that the world promises in the form of the houses and the money and the stuff and the social status and things, because these things are very, it's like a tower of sugar cubes. If like a little bit of water is at the bottom, it all comes up and then they'll start dissolving. So a lot of the world's promises are just sort of towers of sugar cubes, and all it takes is the bottom bit, all the masses to kind of feel a bit of unrest, everything will topple down. But when you've got security within yourself, you're going to make a kind of decision that goes, actually, I would like a nice life. This vegan thing might take me a bit of time. For the first year or two, it might be a lot of experimenting with recipes and new things and talking to people. But at the same time, in the long term, I'm probably going to feel healthier. I'll feel more fulfilled. It's going to be a nice adventure and an experience that, lots of things I can experiment with. I'll be able to try new things, and I'll be able to stimulate my mind and feel more sort of let my curiosity flow. And as I learn new things and connect with different kinds of people, obviously my world's going to expand. So you have that mindset and everything's really good, isn't it? But I think it takes a certain level of peace and a certain level of having your life in that kind of happy place to be able to make that decision. So I think one of my activism goals was always to just get people to that peace, which is generally why, I mean, the videos I made, I was trying to share that peace rather than necessarily going into this kind of passionate, angry place of, because I felt so much frustration with the world and with the way that things can be allowed to happen, that things that happen in the meat and dairy and egg industries, and all of the propaganda that lies about these things, and all the way the schools have been, their curriculum's been hacked, to be full of all this horrible, violent propaganda, and children are brainwashed into these systems, and there's so much frustration you can feel about it. But then I say, well, if I come to people from their frustration, then you're just in this short-term thinking place, and people from the short-term might make that decision, but if it's a short-term decision and it's based on frustration, it might not be a long-lived decision. It might be a I tried that for 2 weeks and it didn't work kind of thing. Whereas if people are in a peaceful space, they'll say, okay, well, let's figure this out. And they sit down and they'd rashly go, well, okay, so this is going to require a bit of this. And it might take them a little bit of planning, and it might be asking a few questions to, the right kinds of people in the right kind of ways. But then the changes they make, even if they're small at the beginning, become more sustainable. And people say, well, this is actually something, how can I make this something that I do every day in my life and never give up on it? And one of the things I found about, if I want to do something in my life, I go, how can I make doing this thing a part of my life for the rest of my life? And there are things that are destined to just be short-term little fun adventures, but if you want to, say, have an exercise routine where you do some kind of healthy exercise to move the body and feel energized, it's saying, well, going on this big crazy gym adventure where I overdo myself and work too hard and feel exhausted, and then obviously associate these kinds of being overly tired and overworked and not feeling balanced. If you associate that with the experience, then very quickly it's going to become, do I have to? And then you stop, because obviously when the right excuse comes along, you can just find your way out of that routine. But if you're saying, how can I find, say, one exercise, whatever it is, that I'll enjoy so much, and it will bring me so much joy, and I'll be able to just do it, and I might be able to do it like, if you're doing like push-ups or something, you do another, one more every day, and I'll do 2, and then I'll do 3, and then I'll do 4, and then the next week I'll do 5, and if you find something that you love doing so much, and anywhere you go you could just do it, even if it's like handstands or something, and if you enjoy it so much that you can never stop, and you're just going to love it every time you do it, then rather than it being about the idea of, oh, if I exercise I'll look a certain way, you go, because the idea of, if I look a certain way I might feel a certain way, which might be happy, or I might feel lovable or whatever, but you go, I'm going to just do this and feel so happy, and then you'll just keep doing it more and more. And then you might start with a very simple goal, like saying, I'll just walk, 20 steps every day up the road and back kind of thing. I'll just do that. And, if people are really out of a routine. But if you're in the space where you're doing 20 steps every day, there's going to come a point where you go, I want to do way more than 20 steps because this is fun. Or if you're doing your press-ups or something, your push-ups, you might be doing, I only do 5 every day, 5 and then 5, and then you go, I can do 6, and then you end up just doing 20, and then you do 50. And if you've been doing it for years and years, you suddenly go, maybe I could do like 300, let's see what happens. And then you just sort of have a little play, and then everything escalates where you go, actually, I love doing this. There must be some other exercises that are equally fun. And then begins the big journey of saying, wow, this is going to be a lifetime project. There's more exercises than this particular one, and I love this one so much. I can have that same kind of joy and adventure and fun with every part of every exercise. And I go, wait a minute, that's going to take me years and years and years, and that will keep me busy. And there's no part of me that feels like I have to do it, because I just love it. And all the things that I don't feel like doing, I'll save that for later. There may come a time when I do want to do it. And obviously, if you just keep going, the momentum kind of builds up, and the momentum gets you to a place where everything's just really fun in that particular area. So I think that's most of what I wanted to say today. just sharing the idea of making everything fun and extending things and sharing with people all the information that's important to you. Don't keep it to yourself. Realize that it gains in strength and momentum through entering into other people. It's like if you've got your own brand of super non-GMO seed, organic, whatever seed, your own special brand of pumpkin or something, you go, the Michael pumpkin. I want to be giving that pumpkin seed to everyone, so everyone's got a pumpkin seed in their life. Not because it makes me a profit for selling it, but because my seed is just so good. I want the world to know about my seed. I want the world to taste this taste. I want everyone to know how great Michael pumpkins are. And it's kind of like that with peace and joy and everything that you like. And all the vegan information and all the things that are important to us. So this was about teaching and learning, sharing, and just receiving with joy and experimenting. So hopefully there's something in this that's been mind illuminating and helpful and inspiring. There's lots more to share, so I'll see you in another episode, and thank you for listening. Goodbye for now. Bye bye.